Hello, again. Today's gonna be the second intro because I had to reset the stream. Welcome back, part 2. Good too. Hope you enjoyed your day. Today's Thursday, another day, another stream, the last stream for this week. And what we're gonna do today is we will do another feedback session. The last stream was 2 weeks ago. Well, the last streaming week was 2 weeks ago. Where we also did a feedback session, and since then a lot of people have submitted their pieces, so we need to give them feedback. We have quite a few, so I have to be quick with the quiz sketch. So let's get straight into Blender because there's nothing too much to explain. If you want to see one of these topics, you should find timestamps in the description. Let's go to Blender. There you go. Seems like the internet is better now. Usually that fixes it. And it seems like that's the case. Perfect. Okay. So we can see this is the reference for today's quick sketch. If you want to see who the artist is, if you want to know who the artist is, if you want to follow them, if you want to, I don't know, worship them, here you go. The name is Ovopack on Twitter. There you go. That's the reference if you want to find them. They might not, you might not be able to communicate with them, but it doesn't matter. I guess they seem to speak English, so that's good. Let's get back. There you go. Yeah, I mean, let's not waste any time. Let's get straight into the quiz sketch, and then we can get straight into the feedback session. I usually okay, hold on. Okay, there you go. So let's begin in 3, 2, 1, go. There you go. So usually so for every feedback session, what I like to do now is, now that Discord added the function for it, I like to add an event that basically pops up when it starts. You can basically just create an event. Basically it's just like a time frame or like a time, a date basically. Where at the top of Discord channel list, there's like a small message saying like, hey, there's this event right now, and then you can, I guess, define when or where it should be, like a link or just a certain channel, or either in Discord somewhere or on a, I guess, external website, on an external link. So I do that for the person feedback session, and I usually do that for I usually let it start at 8:15. That is usually when I estimate the quiz sketch being basically done. Seems like that's not gonna be the case today. But I guess, it is how it is. But yeah. Today we have quite a lot. I think I counted like 12 or 11 people. Depending on how much time, after I calculated it, how much time I can give every single one, I decide whether or not I'm gonna, I guess, limit the amount that I'm gonna give feedback to when it comes to the individual people. I'm not gonna say like, no, you submitted too late. I'm gonna, if I need to, I'm gonna basically make it so the submissions are less. There are just a few that submitted more than one, but I think I've seen a few where I don't think I can give too much input, so we could either kind of, I guess, save some time there, I guess, but also just yeah, we'll see. Let's not worry about that right now. We need to worry about this beautiful quick sketch. Okay, we have no time worrying about anything else. The weekend is already upon us, and You know what I kind of realized something recently, which I kind of want to change. And that is the, when I started working in, when I did my apprenticeship, I don't know when that was, probably, well, in the beginning of it, so 4 years ago, I think. I was very, very big on trying to optimize the work that I do. So basically, I got some sort of task, and then I tried to sort of look through the internet or just kind of come up, or every time I would get some sort of work that is especially repetitive, I would kind of think about like, hey, you know, what could I do to make this easier on myself? I kind of feel like maybe I didn't lose it necessarily, but the thought comes into my mind, but then I don't think about it too much, so that I don't really get any benefit from it. But I kind of want to, I guess, I kind of want to reintroduce that again. What I've kind of realized is there are some repetitive tasks, or well, basically most repetitive tasks you can automate in some sort of way to make it quicker on yourself. Usually what just happens is like that you have a certain deadline, or you have anything else, like you have something that's pressing on the side, that sort of prevents you from thinking through the whole process a little bit more, so that you could sort of think about automating stuff. And that's sort of, I guess, I think how I kind of changed my habits a little bit, where you know, at some point I just kind of got into the habit of just beginning and working rather than thinking about, oh, how can I do this in the most efficient way possible, maybe. And I kind of want to get back to the previous state, let's say, you know. One case for that would be, I've talked about it a few times, the online website banner that I'm creating right now. There, you know, I had to create them quite a few times now because there were some changes we need to do. There are some new ones that got added, some got changed to, I guess, new ones too. So there were always some small changes that I needed to do, and I always had to re-export them. And by re-exporting, I mean, first of all, I need to cut the original image into the right format. Then I have to export them once out of the, I guess, the mask or whatever you want to call it, that has the right format. And then I had to re-export it again to make it, to optimize the size for the website. Because every image you want to upload to a website, you should, in the best case, you should optimize in terms of its size. Kind of, I guess, balance the mix between quality and file size, so that when somebody visits your website, they don't have to load like ages because the images are so big. So you kind of try to optimize everything, and you know, having to do that all the time, that's basically what takes the most time, creating the actual formats from that image, and then also, you know, exporting them again so that you have the right size. So today actually, I come up with, you know, a technique how you can optimize that in Photoshop. Basically, you can make like a small script that can automate that for you, where you basically you can record an action, and then you can basically just play it with other files too. So you do something with a file, and then afterwards you can say, hey, I want to record this action, and then you can play it with a different file, or even with a full folder, whenever you want, basically. So you could say, hey, you know, I'm going to show Photoshop, I'm going to record how I'm in Photoshop opening a file, and then I'm going to export it with these settings, and then I'm going to, you know, I guess I'm going to use that action on all the other files too. Previously, I sort of thought like, well, the problem with them is that they have different formats, different aspect ratios. So you would have to kind of create a script that could sort of, I guess, read, you want to keep the quality as high as possible. So you kind of have to eye it yourself, whether or not it looks good or not. But I think I kind of put too much, I guess, weight on that. I think it's, I kind of changed my approach there a little bit. What I did now is basically I've created a script that that lets me, or that exports all the images at 80% quality. For most of them, that's enough. There are some that are bigger that are still too big. So what I do then is I just run the script again until the size is good enough. So I basically export them at 80% quality, and then most of them are pretty good with that, with these settings. For some, they're too big, so I'm going to just do the same again until they're basically all good. This way I can basically do all the images in maybe a fifth of the time, maybe even less, and kind of seeing how well that works, or how well I think it'll work. I've done it once today. I hope it'll work as good for the other ones too. You know, seeing how well that can work, I've kind of rediscovered that sort of maybe also like feeling of like feeling good when you optimize something. That feeling I kind of missed maybe, and I kind of want to, I guess, let that, kind of want to focus on that a little bit more again, because again, you know, can save you so much time, and time is the most valuable thing in your life. Even if it's, you know, work, even if you work 8 hours a day, I don't know, at least you can get things done, and then maybe at some point you can catch a break because you've done everything that you were supposed to. I just remember, like, you know, even, you know, figuring something out that makes everything faster, and then like showing that to my colleagues, and then, hey, you know what, look at this. This is how you can, I guess, speed up whatever it is. Or there are some new tools that are pretty cool, and then I, you know, would sort of learn about them. Of course, I had more time when I was just starting off, but I think you can still do that. I think I'm somebody that very quickly can get into a routine. I can adopt a routine really quickly, but it's sort of harder for me to get out of it because it's a routine, of course. Well, that sort of contradicts itself, but I mean, if I know that the routine is, if I like the routine, the new one, I can very quickly change to that one. And that sort of, I guess, prevents me a little bit from always thinking about how to optimize what I do. But I kind of want to keep that in mind more. You know, as long as you're aware of it, your mindset can change very quickly. First thing you need to do is you need to be aware of it. And usually when I'm aware of something that I want to change, I can change it pretty quickly. Wait, okay, I thought I didn't start the timer. Okay, I did. Perfect. Almost had a shock. Oh. Okay. Looks kind of like a bird right now. I guess it's similar, but something I don't want to keep. The sketch kind of looks like an animal or like a monster you would find in Monster Hunter, in one of the older Monster Hunter games. Back in the day, I played them all the time on Nintendo DS, and I don't remember what the monster was called, but it was basically like a mix between a snake but with arms. It looked pretty cool. The armor looks really cool, and that's what it reminds me of. I can't remember what the name was though. There you go. Okay. I like the eye. It doesn't look perfectly like... you know what? We can detail it some more. Yeah, I think... Usually... So what happens is usually that I... Or, well, I kind of want to maybe change that. But what usually happens is I sort of come up with a new routine or something that I want to do, especially now with, you know, making videos and streaming. I kind of come up with something new, cool new things that I want to try. I do the things. I kind of realize how long it takes to do them. I kind of accept it to a certain degree. And I think I want to get to a point where I sort of, I guess, automatically, after doing it maybe for a certain time, think about how I can make it better. I think, like, I don't want to think about it right away because I kind of have to get some, I guess, I need some, I guess, experience first before I can really think about, like, how I could speed it up. But I kind of want to come up with some ways to speed up my process, because right now I think it takes a little bit too much of my time. And I think you of course always get better the more you do it, but there's always, you know, like a certain, I guess, cap to that too. When it comes to just, you know, being faster because you know what to do, rather than making it faster by, I don't know, creating some sort of scripts or whatever you want. Okay, look at them. The eyes look... I don't know, the eyes are weird. Let's make them a little bit look to the side, but I think they're too close together. What if I pull them apart? Like that. That looks even weirder, does it? I don't know. It's weird. Let's see. What if we pull it back a little bit and then go to the back? Let's add the rest first. We have 15 minutes, so that's good. Okay. Grab the... You know what? I actually want to make this thing asymmetrical, so I'm going to add it later. I'm going to focus on the rest first. What I mean with the rest is maybe here in the back a little bit more. Not too much. I think the main head is already in a good place. Maybe what you could also do is we could just push this in and push the rest out. That could also look pretty good. No, that'll look... No. No. That looks better. Yeah. Yeah, I think a few more things here and there. Adjust a few more things here and there, and then we can go to the next resolution. There you go. Okay. We have the little beak right here. Make it nice and sharp. Perfect. Okay. At the bottom there's some confusion here. Let me get rid of this. This is too far down. It doesn't really make sense. Or, well, it doesn't make sense the way I want it to look like. So we need to push it down. So, like there. It kind of needs to, you know, there's like the tip of the beak. It doesn't have enough room in right down here, so I needed to push it up. That's sort of why I pushed it up. There you go, that's better. Maybe even a little bit thinner here. Yeah, perfect. Perfect. Okay. That looks pretty cool. I like to sort of detail the shapes. Sometimes I just like to kind of add some, not necessarily random, but sort of highlight some areas here or highlight some edges by just using the crease brush and just, you know, accentuating them a little bit. It doesn't necessarily make sense all the time, but it looks sort of cooler, especially for these quick sketches where it doesn't have to be like 100%, where it doesn't have to make sense 100% of the time. It's sort of fun to just do that and quickly get some more definition in there. There you go. I think that's pretty good already. I think we're ready for the next step. No, before we do that, I want to add the small little whatever you call that. What is the crown on top of not hens, but you know, on chicken, the little wobbly thing up there? I can't remember what it's called. I don't know if I've ever heard it. I don't even know what it's called in German. So, you know, why would I know the word in English? The little wobbly thing on the top of their head. Who knows? Maybe it doesn't even have a word. But I feel like it does. Wait, I switched it up. Hold on. 20. And then symmetry. That's what I wanted. Are you going to critique all submissions? I'm gonna first of all, welcome back. I'm gonna critique them in the order that they have been submitted. But if somebody submitted 2, they will be I will go through all of that person's first, so that we don't switch between people, but we finish, you know, one person at a time. That's basically the order. I think you submitted fairly late, I think, or fairly recently rather. So yeah, yours is going to be a little bit later. I wanted to make it a little bit floppier, so I'm going to do this, and then go here to the side, maybe even like this. There you go. That's cool. Give it some more detail here too. Perfect. Okay, let's give it some more detail now. One thing, of course, the part here on top is quite big, so I'm gonna make it a little bit smaller here. Okay. I also want to add these small spikes, so let's do that now. Oh, that's the wrong brush. Maybe not as elaborate as the ones in the sketch. Just a little bit like this, maybe. There you go. Not too much. There you go. Okay. Little mohawk. 11 submissions before yours. Yeah, so I'm gonna calculate when we're done with this, how much time we have, and then I'm gonna basically give everyone that much time. If I'm done with somebody before that, then of course we're gonna go to the next one. But the you know, I think last time, well, usually with like 6 or 7 submissions, we have like, I don't remember, like 12 minutes or so per piece. So, you know, this time it'll probably be a little bit less, you know, very, very likely. But yeah, it's gonna be roughly, probably like, I don't know, 7 or 8 minutes per piece, or per person. Yeah, if you want to do the math, I guess. Of course, you can always just, if you can't, you know, be here, for whatever reason, you can always just watch the VOD too, and just then skip to yours if you want to do that. Okay, we have 7 minutes. Perfect. Let's go to 50. There you go. And then let's do some more details. First of all, let's push this back here. Okay, looks maybe a little bit weird, but that's okay. I just wanted to make it even more floppy by pushing and pulling it around a little bit. There you go. Okay, let's go to the beak first. Oh, I can activate symmetry again. I thought about maybe even giving this one a small expression. Or not an expression, but a pose. We'll see if we can do that in the time that we have here. With 7 minutes left, I kind of doubt it, but we'll see. We will see. Yep. I'll see you then. Have back. Enjoy your time. Thank you for the well wishes. There you go. Okay, we can even give the bottom part here a little bit more texture. Like this, maybe even add some cuts in there. Maybe it doesn't look that great, but who cares? It's my design. It's always great. Okay. Let's use the pinch tool. I don't use that one too often, but it's very, very good for the mouth. If you use the crease brush to create some sort of like opening, for example, or like a crack, the crease brush in itself is basically a pinch brush plus a draw sharp brush. But you know, sometimes using the individual brushes is still the best, because you can fully focus on one function rather than having to deal with two. So you can, you know, twist and do that a little bit easier. Okay. Five minutes, perfect. Make this a little bit sharper. Turn this into a new piece here. There you go. Look at that. Okay, we have this piece here. I think this one looks pretty good already. We don't need to do too much. I want to give it some more texture, but I'm probably going to smooth it a little bit because it's a little bit too rough like this. I'm just going to keep it as small bumps that are quite smooth, but you know, you can still see the structure. That's the sort of goal. There you go. Okay. There you go. We have the head. Let's see what we can do here. Okay. We have 3 minutes. Okay, so let's keep going. We're not gonna stop. We're gonna let's see. There you go. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how much time we can give everyone with 11 submissions. You know, if usually we have like 7 or so, it's gonna be quite a doozy. But we'll see how it's gonna end up. Maybe I'll do a little bit, maybe I'll, you know, stream a little bit longer if it needs to be, if need be, you know. We'll see. Okay. I think it's also, yeah, you know, we'll see if it's gonna be a what is it? I think it's gonna be an exception that we have so many. after 2 weeks. Well, basically 3 weeks, because this week is also, included. But this week, I don't think there were that many submissions. But still, especially over the holidays, there were a lot. Of course, because everybody, was home and could do whatever. So we got some more. And yeah, I think it's gonna be more like an exception this time. If not, then I'm gonna have to do some... I have to take some measures. Okay, we have 1 minute 41. When it's 1 minute left, then I'm gonna do the pose. Shouldn't take too long. Famous last words, as always. Okay. The neck looks very, very rough, so I'm gonna add some more detail here in the last 13 seconds. Five, 4, 3. Did you say welcome back? Welcome back, howdy. Welcome back, hustler. Hope you enjoyed your day. Quick sketch day 340. Perfect. Okay, let's do the pose. We're gonna grab this. Side view. We need the lasso mask. Yeah, I guess that works. There you go. Grab the mask, smooth it. There you go. Let's see how well that'll work up here. We'll see. We need to remove symmetry. Nice little rhyme right there. Rotate, sculpt, set pivot, mask border. Okay. I guess we just do something like this, maybe. That's pretty cool. And we could have the camera somewhere up here. That's pretty cool. Although I kind of want to have it on the other side, because that's where you can see this piece. So maybe something like, let's see, that. Wait, oh no. Oh no, time is over. Hold on. There you go. That's a pretty cool angle, I think. Maybe even a little bit higher. There you go. Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. Perfect. Let's see how well the eyes will fit in there. They might be a little bit too big overall. We'll see. Let's see. UV sphere. Yeah, as you can see, we kind of poke through here. Let's do some CG magic, because we can. We're gonna do some scaling here to fill the eye. Who cares about realism? Okay. Nobody. There you go. Number 1 and number 2. Okay, we probably don't need the second one, but why not add it anyway? Perfect. Okay. No light, please. Let's scale it, and then we're done. Okay. Camera placement. I wanted to make the focal length lower so we can, I guess, utilize the perspective warp a little bit. I don't know if that's the right word, but it sounds cool. Okay. Don't roast me. There you go. Okay. Light. Where's my... Oh, I went one too too far. There you go. Collection, and there's the light. Perfect. So what do we have here? We have, oh, that's the piggy again. Who needs a pig if you have a dinosaur? Okay. That's pretty cool. The next one. That's pretty cool. And then one more. That's also pretty cool. Okay. Which color? I think green is pretty old by now. So we can use that one. Maybe like a nice green, forest green maybe. Something like that. Ooh, okay. Okay. Let's see. The color. Let's see. I think the color is in a good spot right there. Yeah. The thing that is missing is first of all this shader here for the eye, and then also the quick sculpt shader. There it is. Perfect. Okay. I think I want to adjust these a little bit. Okay, perfect. Last thing, we need to change the depth of field. Set it to 0.4 and then move the focus point to right there. Perfect. There you go. Easy peasy. You know what? I kind of want to get closer with the camera. There you go. I don't know if you can still see what it is. Who cares? Who cares, okay? Nobody. Exactly. There you go. Perfect. Medium to high, and then threshold to 7. Maybe 6. Oh, 7 looked pretty good. Okay. Lens distortion, of course. What else? 0.5 maybe? Oh, well, maybe not. Maybe not 0.5. 0.05. Or maybe even 0.075. Perfect. Yeah, I don't really know if you can see what it is, but now we're, I guess now it's too late. Let's finish it. Perfect. Save it. Oh, hello, Photoshop. There you go. Let's rush through this so we don't waste any more time. More than I already have. We sketched a 344? No, 340, of course. There you go. No explanation. We're just gonna rush through all the settings now in Photoshop. Okay. There you go. Nope, that's the wrong one. Of course I used the wrong one. There it is. Okay, what do we do here? We have green. Okay, of course you lag. Why wouldn't you? There you go. Yellowish or bluish? Bluish. I don't know. I don't like blue for some reason for these. It always looks kind of weird. Although I kind of want to use it today. Maybe purplish too. Maybe something like that. Nice mix. That's pretty cool. And then we can change the highlight a little bit. Add some more shadows. Look pretty good already. Yeah, perfect. Color grading. Do we need color grading? We don't. Who cares about color grading? Oh, hold on. we need the two most important effects, of course, which are geometry. No, not geometry. Effects. Grain and vignetting. Perfect. Look at that. Beautiful. Now you can see even less. Isn't that great? Perfect. We might be done faster than usually when I do these, even though I started later. Although, I don't know. Probably not. Okay. There it is, quick sketch. Perfect. Okay. Let me get rid of this, make a new one, because we're gonna go to... Well, we're gonna use Blender. Maybe. We'll see what we're gonna use. I guess it depends on what we get as a... as a material for the, you know... For the pieces. Let me copy this over and then we're good. 40 minutes. That sounds pretty good. I usually calculate for like an hour probably. So that's pretty good. There it is. Although probably 45 minutes is more realistic. Come on. There it is. Okay. Okay, so we have enough time for the feedback session. We're gonna go straight to the compilation. I'm gonna see you in 3 minutes, and then we're gonna start with all the pieces. So yeah, hope you enjoy. Okay. We're ready. We're ready to do the infamous feedback session number 50. Let me see. Okay, perfect. Yep. So, let's see how many submissions we have so we can calculate how many minutes we can allocate, okay? How much minutes we can spend on each one of them. We have 10. Oh, we have 10. I thought we have 11 more. Interesting. Cool. Okay. 10 is actually, I guess, pretty good. Let's see. So we have, hold on, where's my, oh, of course. Let's see. So we have roughly, oops. There it is. So we have roughly, let's say, let's begin at, you know, let's have some leeway. We're gonna begin with 9 p.m., which would be oh my god, so deep drops. I don't know why my internet is so weird today. So what do we have today? We have oh, sorry. We have 2 hours divided by well, 120 minutes divided by 10, 12 minutes per person. Nice. Okay. 12 minutes sounds pretty good. I thought we would have like 6 or 7, so it's even better. Nice, that's nice. Okay. So we have 12 minutes. Okay. Okay. And we have even 10 minutes more because, well, we started a little bit earlier. Well, if I, yeah, you know. Okay. So, yeah. Let's do the next personal feedback session. Number 15, we have 10 people who submitted a piece. If I haven't missed anyone, if so, I'm sorry. I don't think I did. The first one that has been submitted at all was by Zero, right here. Personal feedback. A little bit higher, somewhere over here. Been last year or so, which is this one here. I don't know if I can show it, so I can. Let me set it all up and then we can begin, okay? I probably need to censor it a little bit, you know, just to be sure, okay? Okay. Save that, and then there you go. So, oh no, I think for Zero, so Zero, basically, how I have seen it, he has posted basically his progression with a certain character, and at first he posted the body of the character, and then I think over time he worked on it a little bit more, and then posted a few more. So we can probably, I guess, include a few of his posts into one. So what we have in the beginning is the I guess you could say the body itself, and then the next one is I think the head, if I see that correctly. Then there's just a skull study, I would guess. And then we have another the character again, as you can see here. There you go. And then we have one more, which is another character. You can see it right here. Maybe just a different clothing or whatever, but it's still a different character. So I think we have like 3 that we can look at. This one, yeah, is the head itself. So if I see that correctly, this one looks like the other one. This one. Yeah, I could be wrong, but it seems that way. So we can probably put them all into one. But yeah, okay. Oh, I need to prepare the body, because otherwise, I don't know. You know, just to be sure. Hold on, give me a sec. I said I would do that before, but now I will do it, okay? I think the last piece is good. Yeah. Okay. There you go. What is going on? Why is my brush is too big, of course. Okay. Oh, hello. There you go. I guess that works. There you go. And then there you go. Okay. Do we need more? I think everything else is safe. Well, we can do this one maybe. Although, I don't know if I need that one. Yeah, we can do that one too. Okay. You don't see what I'm saying, but it doesn't matter, okay? Trust me. You don't need to see what I'm seeing. Okay. Here we go. I think that's as much as I need to do here. If I read the rules correctly, I probably do even more than I need to, but who cares? Okay. Okay, let's begin with the first one, which is by Zara. If we go to here, you can see what I'm. Oh well, hold on. You could already see it. Okay, there you go. So this one is made by Zara. He submitted a few pieces, but this one is the first one. His character. He worked on it a little bit more, but this one is the first draft, you could say. There were some earlier stages, but I think this one is the best one to look at, because it's the final version of the body before we add the, I guess you could say, the clothing, you know. Yeah, let's give a little bit of feedback on the body first. Okay, so Lego already gave some feedback to it already, which, you know, which I thought was good. What his input was something like, what proportion looked really good. Head is small, maybe would be easier to tell if with a face and stuff. Let's see. So, you know, I can probably agree that the head might be a little bit too small. We'll see. Generally speaking, the head for the full body, if you, for example, sculpt a full body, the head should roughly be 7 to 7.5 heads long, you could say. I guess, well, if you have like 7, that's like a shorter person. If you have 7.5, that's, you know, I guess more average. And then if you have 8, that's more like, I guess, superhero proportions. That is very unusual. You know, you would have that maybe in some very specific cases where you want to make something look very, very, I guess, mighty, or very, you know, I guess, you know, big, especially big, for example. So let's see what the head size looks like. Of course, we don't have the full front view, but if we sort of calculate it here using the newest technology, a brush, and we're just going to draw a circle in the head size. That's probably a good size here. That should be good enough. We're going to grab that one and just duplicate it a few times. Come on. There you go. So it should be 7 to 7.5. So we'll see how much we actually have here. How many? There you go. So this is 4. And we need 3 more. There you go. There you go. So as you can see, we have less. Oh, well, the body is longer than 7.5 would probably also not reach the bottom. So we probably have 8 heads. That's, well, for an average body, a little bit too much. That doesn't mean that the body is too big, but more that the head is a little bit too small, as Lego also said. So one thing you could try, or one thing you could do, I think you can make the head just a little bit bigger. We could maybe do that real quick. And then there's, yeah, a few more things that I want to say here. Liquefy, there you go. So what you could do, you know, just kind of make the head, probably the easiest way to fix this would be to make the head a little bit smaller. I mean, not smaller, but longer probably. It seems like it has a pretty abrupt ending at the top. You can probably just make it a little bit longer in this direction. That can already help. There you go. I don't exactly know, of course, how much it needs to be, but I guess you can do that for yourself too. Of course, now it might be too late, but to keep that in mind for the next ones too. Okay, there you go. I think that's already pretty good. Maybe a little bit too long now, but you get the idea. Just a little bit longer can probably help kind of bring the head in line with the proportions. When it comes to the shoulders, of course, the rough estimation is always like 3 heads equal the shoulder width. I think that looks pretty good too. One thing that jumps out to me is the legs right now. You can see there are 2 things that I want to note for the legs. I think in general the legs, I mean the proportions overall look very good. I think comparing that to earlier, I guess, bodies that you've created, this one looks really good compared to these you've improved, let's say. And that's visible. What I mean is the distinction from the from this muscle here. Okay, this is a bad color. Hold on. going from this muscle here to the hip. Of course, there's a distinction because this is part of the bone and this is a muscle. The muscle connects to the hip though, and generally the transition from here to here is pretty smooth, especially because you have fat that sort of fills the gaps. If you have a very fit person, you can have these very strict, I guess, distinctions, or these two bumps here. So you have this one and this one. You can have these two, but that is usually more for more fit people. Especially for women, you oftentimes have fat in this area. So, you know, the fat usually tends to fill out the small gaps between muscles, for example, which would probably also happen in this case. If it's supposed to be a very fit character, that could work. That could work though. You know, you kind of have to decide for yourself. Maybe you can ease it a little bit here. You know, but overall, it looks pretty good. Going to the knee, I think that is where I kind of found the biggest, I guess, adjustment that I would make. I think, you know, the knees look pretty good. They're roughly in the middle of the legs, which is also right. One thing that I would note here is that the knee muscles look a little bit, you could say, not misplaced, maybe, or maybe you could say they're missing a little bit of volume. What I mean is especially on this side. So usually what you have here is you have a muscle coming from here and then going down, and then sort of as in the silhouette going around the knee. So it would look something more like this, and then it, you know, this is part of like this. The muscle goes to the back of the leg, which you can also see in this crochet here. So if you look at the knee right now, you can see, looking at the front view. Well, come on, focus up. There you go. You can see if I bring my hand behind it, you can maybe see it a little bit easier. Do you see this bump right there? This bump is made by a muscle that's coming from up here, from the leg, and then kind of going around the knee. And this bump is very important because the muscle, you know, doesn't go away. So you would always have a little bit of room here next to the knee. And then maybe you could add maybe a little bit more volume here on this side too. I think it can help the overall look. I think those are the main points that I've kind of seen in the body. I think overall the body looks pretty good already. So what we're gonna do here, of course, now the now there's no, what do you call it? No no sensor anymore, but who cares? You live, you learn, I guess. There you go. So you'd have some more room here next to the knees, just so you can, yeah, for the muscle basically. You oftentimes for the legs, you have this very clear S line right here. Do you see if you follow the left corner or the left outline of the cursor right now, which you can't see? Great. Well, hold on. No. So if you follow from here, wait. Oh, there you go. So if you follow the cursor right now, you can see, if you follow the left side of the cursor, you can see this S curve going out, going in, making a little dip, and then it goes out again. You have these two bumps right here. Do you see them? And those are very, very significant and very, I guess, typical for the leg. You could say that's the same on the other side. Right here, I think the transition from the thigh to the, you know what I mean, is a little bit maybe too strong. The transition between these two muscles is also pretty smooth, you could say. If you look at the leg from the side, you can see there's a muscle that goes from here next to the knee and then to the front, or to the side rather. Here, do you see the little muscle right there? This muscle sort of makes it so that the transition from the thigh to the lower leg is quite smooth. So if we smooth that a little bit, I think the legs will look pretty good. A little bit like this, and then we can add a little bit more volume to the inside of the muscle here, and I think then we have a pretty good. We have pretty good legs on our hands. Look at that, beautiful. Maybe not too strong. We can maybe get rid of a little bit here. There you go. Okay, perfect. Another thing is that the... never mind. No, I think that's pretty good. There you go. And then if we change that, if we compare the before and after, you can see those are the changes. So, especially here, you can see the changes in the leg. Kind of just moved the muscles, first of all, a little bit. I guess brought the muscles out a little bit more, especially around the knee. And then here down there, we've adjusted them a little bit too. Moved them closer into the middle. Like this. And then the head is a little bit bigger. So just so it has, I guess, better proportions compared to the rest of the body. We have 1 minute left, so let's see what we can do here. I mean, for the other ones, I think the character looks pretty good. You can definitely see improvements, especially on the side view. You've definitely taken the feedback by heart, looking at the profile. It's not as flat as maybe other characters that you've made before. You've kind of pulled everything out a little bit more, so the nose has some more room to play. The lips have some more room to play. So that looks pretty good. I would guess of course here the hair is just quite rough still. I guess, you know, that's not the final product, you could say. Let's go to the front view real quick. Okay, yeah, you probably add some more makeup here too. Is that the final one? I can't remember. But yeah, I mean, overall in faces, I think you've improved definitely. You've added some, you definitely improved when it comes to the faces, adding different, I guess, variations in the face when it comes to the nose or the lips or the eyes, for example. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Let's go to the last one. The last one is, of course, a character with a, I guess, different outfit. Let's look at the outfit real quick. I want to look at the first outfit, though, which is it in here? There it is. So this is the outfit that he gave her. Or them, whatever you want to say. So the one thing that I always note when it comes to outfits, this could still be very rough, of course. But just to always drive it home, you know, how important I guess seam lines are. If you only do one thing to improve this, if you want to improve this, I think the one thing that you can do to really improve the look of any clothing, especially for this one, for example, this should be because you have like this very tight, I guess, you know, the piece of clothing, the lowest layer, you could say. First thing is seam lines, so that you can show that it's made out of multiple pieces. Otherwise, you know, if you kind of always have to think about how would you put the clothing on. I don't think, well, if it's very stretchable, maybe you could get into it, but where would you enter? Would you go through the neck? You kind of go with your legs through the neck, or however. I think it's just easier to add some seam lines to make it visible that you've that it's still a full bodysuit, but it has, you know, certain areas where you can sort of, I guess, where you see that it's been manufactured, and not just kind of, I guess, created out of nothing. And then one more thing is some folds. Folds can really quickly improve the look of any clothing. When it comes to the gloves, or when it comes especially to the armpits. In armpits, you basically always have folds. Maybe even here in the crotch area. Just adding some folds can really quickly improve the look of any clothing, basically. Of course, you can always do that for the knees here too, or for the boots too, although we have some cover there, so it doesn't really matter too much there. Okay, yeah, 12 minutes are already over. I think this one, I don't know if I can say too much about it. Yeah, you know, I wanted to focus on this one because this one is the one that you've worked the most on. Yeah. Let's go to the next one, which is made by John Lon Jenin. Okay, he submitted a pretty simple piece, but we can still give feedback on it. He had a question, which is any tips for improvements. He just made a little head, you know, and he wants some feedback on it. Of course, maybe he worked on it a little bit more. especially in the beginning when you're more, I guess, beginning to model. Basically everything is sort of in the unknown how you do it. So any feedback, of course, can help there. So for the head, a few things. Let's begin with the front view. Okay, so first of all, generally, of course, it could be a male head, it could be a female head. Generally speaking, if you create different, I guess, genders, you have some distinctions between heads. One thing that you could say is that the neck might be a little bit too long. It looks a little bit more like a male head just because of the jaw size, you could say, or the jaw width. But you know, it sometimes usually, or you can kind of, I guess, make female faces look a little bit more feminine by giving them either a rounder face or a heart-shaped face, so that the top of the head is bigger or wider than the jaw, for example. The jaw, generally speaking, oftentimes, okay, is a little bit narrower than, for example, for male characters or for males, let's say. So that's one thing that you can do to make a character look more feminine. What you can also do, or what you can also look at, is the neck. I think the neck is sort of what I kind of want to focus on right now. What I also sort of notice. Actually, no. Let's work with the front view first. Let's pull up a quick reference image, and then we can talk about what I mean with the neck. So if you look up, head front, okay. So we're gonna use this one. Well, let's use this one. Okay, so one thing that you can notice, or what you usually have for the neck, is that the neck basically goes straight down. For males, maybe more than females. If you look at this one, for example, actually no, it's basically the same for both. What you can see here is that the connection from the connection of the neck muscles that are on the sides here, that basically help you to rotate your head. These two here, I think they're called like sternal-masculine, if that's, or sternal-mas, whatever. Those ones, they start behind your ear or behind your ear or underneath it, connect to the head, and then they go down to the to this bone right here. And they generally only get narrower, which means that they start off very wide and then of course go into the middle. Of course there are some more muscles on the side, but if you generally speak and look from the front at a face, what you can see is that the neck starts to go, it goes straight down, and then it tapers off as you get lower to the neck or to the upper body. Basically, you can see it here, how it goes basically way, like how it goes down, and then to the side it tapers down, like right there, tapers off, I mean. And then if you look at this one here too, you can see the same. It goes straight down, and then it goes to the side. Let's look at a few more here. This one here too, you can see goes straight down. Hold on. Well, that's there you go. You can see it goes straight down, and then it goes to the side. If we look at a few more here. That one is shot from up top. That's a little bit harder to see. You can see the same. It might look a little bit deceiving because the tapering at the bottom makes it sort of look like it's curving, but at the top it's not really curving anymore. You can see the same here. See how it's sort of straight, and then it goes down. Oh, that's the wrong one. So that's one thing. You can see the very strong curve right here. You can probably make that, oh, let's put that in Photoshop so we can do some adjustments. You can probably do some smaller adjustments here. You can probably, make this straighter. So let's do that real quick. Oh, hello. So for the neck from the front view, what you could do, so you could either, if it's supposed to be, for example, like a male piece, a male character, you can make it a little bit wider here, like this, make it straight, and then you could let it taper off a little bit more abruptly, because the neck muscles oftentimes are also a little bit stronger, a little bit bigger, so it looks more like this. Another thing to keep in mind is that the jawbone, if you look at a skull for example, skull. If you look at it here, of course this is just an example, but here you can see that the cheekbones generally is wider than the jawbone. And why is that? Because the jawbone needs to sort of connect to the upper part of the head. There are two parts of the head. We have the top part, and then we have the mandible, I guess you call it. You can see here, this is the top part, and then we have the lower part that is right there. You can see it right here, because it has to connect to the top part. The mandible has to connect to the top part. The jaw, let's say, it has to connect to the top part. It needs to be a little bit narrower than the widest, or than the cheekbones here. I wanted to say the cheekbones are the widest part of the face, but that's not true. The widest part is a little bit above that, which is right here. This is the widest part of the head. But you can see they need to be a little bit thinner. So you naturally have a little bit more of this, I guess, you know, this narrowing the lower you go in your face, which means that the jaw, as you can see here, can probably be a little bit narrower. Just a little bit. You can see it goes in, then it goes out again. I've seen some very edge cases where that might be the case, but we, you know, especially if you want to learn, we want to go more and learn about the, you could say the average rather than the exceptions. So, you know, we're gonna just adjust it a little bit to make it a little bit more like this, in this semi-hard shape, you could say. One thing that it could be that the edge of the jaw is a little bit too high, or the chin is a little bit too low. Generally, what you can see, maybe you can see it with my face, the jaw edge right here in the back is roughly on the mouth height. So if you see my mouth right here, you kind of draw the line. That's basically where you can see the edge of the jaw, or a little bit lower, roughly in that area. So if you would put the mouth somewhere over here somewhere, I think that would be a little bit too high. So you would probably also either pull the chin a little bit higher, like this, or you would push the muscle, I mean the edge of the jaw a little bit lower. I would probably say higher, because the head is quite long already. So we can just pull it up a little bit. There you go. If we also say that the neck is quite long, we can maybe push it up a little bit too. There you go. And then we have something like this. It's not perfect, of course, but you know, just as an idea. Yeah, let's look at it. This is before, this is after. You know, there are some small changes that you can do, like the chin, for example, the jaw being a little bit narrower. We have the neck, especially making it, I guess, straighter down, and then afterwards we have the tapering off. Let's go to the side view real quick, because I have a few things that I want to mention here. Right now, what I think is that the neck, especially, I think you can work on the neck especially. What I mean here is that you can look at the thickness of it. The neck houses not only the spine, but also the, I guess, the breathing tube, let's call it, and where also, you know, your, I guess, food goes in. It also slightly, or somewhat, holds your tongue. Your tongue is also halfway sort of in your mouth, but also at the beginning of the neck, or the throat. So it needs some room down here first of all, and then also the neck can be a little bit wider. So let's do a few more things here. What I mean by that is you can basically move the neck. You can basically just add some more volume here in the back, and you can see how very quickly it looks a little bit better. And then you also, as we said, we move the chin a little bit higher, like this, so that there is some more room down here. Usually what you have is, if you look from the side, from the chin to the neck, there's a horizontal line, basically, that then tapers off to the neck. If I lift my head, it's the same. doesn't matter how much I lift it, you can see there's always like a straight line going to the neck, basically where the mouth is, where the tongue is sitting. So we would push this down a little bit, and then we already have quite a big change. And you can see how much that changes the head itself. Just with the neck making it a little bit wider or bigger, and then moving the chin up, we can maybe even move the back of the chin a little bit lower, like this. There you go. And we already have a way different looking face. Another thing is, you oftentimes, for example, for him, you can see the top of the head is quite flat. In the case of me, for example, the back of the head is a little bit higher than the front of the head. So basically where the face ends or where the hair begins is the, I guess, front of the head. And then, you know, that's the rest is where the hair is. If you look at him, for example, you can see his head here, roughly here, ends the face. And then this part is quite flat. Some people it's a little bit different. But if you look at yours, for example, you can see here is roughly where the hair would probably begin. But you have like all of this room up here. I think what you could do is you could either, yeah, I guess the easiest thing that you could do is you could move all of this a little bit lower, like this. Make it, bring it, oh, hello. Bring it a little bit lower, even this part here, so that you can create a more, I guess, natural head shape. There you go. So it looks something more like this, so that the head isn't as long in the back, basically. There you go. So this is before, and this is after. Just some small changes. I think they can do a lot for your characters. Okay. There you go. Okay, let's go to the next one. I want to save them, but I kind of want to do that at the end. Okay, the next one is by... Wait, did he submit two? He didn't, right? No, he didn't. Okay. The next one is by Barker. He submitted one piece, which is this one right here. Hi guys, how you doing? So yesterday, after so long, find back to watch the new movie. I did it 2 times. Got some free time and started to block out one of my favorite Disney movies. I guess it's Aladdin, as I would suspect. Maybe not. Yeah, it's Aladdin. Okay. I didn't read this one, I promise. Hope to be able to move forward with this project. All textures was created in Blender, most of them procedural textures, otherwise others are procedural with some vectors. Okay, let's look at it. Welcome back, Memers Haven. Hope you feel good today. Hope you had a great day. Let's go to Barker's piece. There you go. So with this, looks pretty cool. You have some, you have a palace with some towers, with even some smaller details like the bridge here, or whatever you want to call it, the staircase, the entrance here. You have the big tower right there, and overall, there you go. That's the whole piece. It seems like that this is this in front here is another balcony. Yeah. I think it looks pretty cool. One thing that how are you doing? I'm doing pretty well, going through these submissions. It's always cool to see, what others do and what others are interested in, what they like to do and what they want to improve in. Yeah. So I think the biggest thing that I just recently learned actually is I think what is sort of missing right now is the sense of scale. There are different ways how you can add the sense of scale. Right now it looks kind of like a miniature. Of course, it's supposed to be sort of represent like a, I guess, big palace. I think it's sort of missing that a little bit right now. The background isn't too necessary or too much of a problem necessarily if you change a few things when it comes to the buildings. So one thing that you can, or the thing that is sort of stealing your, not necessarily realism, but more your scale, is the one thing that you can do is add a texture, because right now there's no real, I guess, comparison you can make where you can see how big something is. Of course, you have some palm trees right here, but still there's just something missing that sort of gives you an idea of what the scale would be. What you could do to do that would be to add some people, of course. You know, you could put some people here on the stairs. I think if you kind of think about the scale, and this would be like a big tower, maybe the stairs are a little bit too big. Maybe it kind of depends on, of course, what kind of you were going for. Another thing that you can do is you can add, as you did here, you could add a few more textures to this to make it, to give it a bigger look. Another thing here, for example, for this texture is that the damage on the globes are very big. What I mean by that is that the cracks, comparing it to the surface or the size of the, I guess top tip, whatever you want to call it, is very big. If you generally look at, for example, an old church roof, what you can usually see is that the wear and tear or the damage that they take, for example, a roof or these golden small balls that you oftentimes have, or these things here at the top, or these things here, the damage isn't necessarily, I guess, scaling up with the size of a building, but it's more that it's I guess it's staying the same. The building is bigger, but the size of the damage or the moss, for example, stays the same. This is sort of, I guess, not, you know, it's not sort of not the case here. For this one, it seems more like the cracks grew with the globe, which of course means that the scale gets kind of lost. It looks like it's like a miniature because the globe, you know, is a certain size, and you can't really tell what the globe's size is. What you kind of relate it back, or what you kind of, I guess, compare it to, are the cracks, and because the cracks are so big, it kind of looks like, you know, the tower is pretty small because the cracks are so big. I think if you make the cracks a little bit smaller, maybe you reduce the strength too, you can give them a bigger look. You can even just scale them down, the cracks, so that you have more, but, you know, I guess just smaller. It can also help in selling the, I guess, more grandiose, or I guess bigger scale. Also a very quick one that you can do to make an image immediately look more, or to immerse yourself into the image more, and also sort of make everything look a little bit bigger, is by placing the camera in a certain position. If you place the camera, for example, here in front of these gates, and you place the camera on head height, that immediately makes it, or well, that basically immediately grounds the camera in the image and gives you like a full sense of scale. You can see how the towers, how these turrets, how these towers or even the gates sort of rise above you, and how you can sort of perceive the scale. You can see the camera's smaller than the tower, and you kind of see all the perspective, how the, you know, you can kind of, you know, feel the immersion and see how big everything is in relation to the camera, and that gives it the sense of scale that I think is kind of missing right now. Kind of being apart or away from the whole thing on this balcony kind of robs it of this connection to the I guess to the building, which means that it, you know, kind of feels distant, and you can't really sense the scale too much. Of course, if you want to stay here, if you want to stay in the back, one thing that you can try to give it the sense of scale is maybe add some environmental effects that would come into play when you stay so far away from the temple. One thing could be like an atmosphere, maybe a little bit of fog, maybe a few clouds here at the top too, you know, just to kind of sell you this look of distance. Right now it looks very two-dimensional. You can still see that there's like room between these pillars here, or the balcony, and the wall in the back, but it's kind of missing the space in between. What you could do is you could, for example, as I said, add like a small fog. The fog would kind of get thicker and thicker and thicker the further you go away from the camera, which means that, for example, this globe here in the back, or the tower, would be, I guess, more washed out, or I guess lighter than the ones in the front, which sort of makes it look like, you know, there's a certain sense of scale, or a certain sense of depth added there. Of course, another thing would be depth of field, although for very far shots I don't think depth of field will work that well. it's more for, I guess, close-up shots. Yeah. I think another thing, what you could try is the lighting. The lighting, or well, the background sort of suggests that it's a dark. Well, so the thing is, you have the background which has a dark area down here in the back, at the bottom right. But then at the top here we have this very bright area, suggesting that there's light coming from the top left. But then as you can see, we have a light coming from the back right here, right next to the camera, somewhere on the right, because we have reflections here on the right of these globes. We have shadow on the left, which is kind of contradicting the light, or the, I guess, brightness, or the sky, let's say. Just, you know, the sky is different than the sky suggests lighting coming from the top left, but in reality the light is coming somewhere from the back bottom right here. So that's something that you can maybe, you know, fix. I think that's something that you can really easy fix to make the image a little bit more coherent, I guess you could say. I think overall, another thing that can sell the sense of scale is, I guess, more objects. Just it doesn't just mean that you need to spam everything, you know, with just random objects. But of course, if it's a big plaza, for example, or like a big, you know, temple for like this one, you would probably have some decorations. Of course, you would have some people. Probably you would have some smaller things, some smaller decorations that could also help with the sense of scale, and also just kind of, I guess, you know, give some more detail to the image. If you compare, for example, a real car to a toy car, one of the big differences is that the toy car, it looks a little bit simpler than the real car, because, you know, the real car is easier, I guess, to add more details to. Or like, you know, you have cables, you have, I don't know, mirrors. I guess those are always, you know, included, I guess, in the toy car too. But yeah, the toy car is always a little bit simpler than the real one. And if you kind of pay attention to the details a little bit more, maybe you can make it look a little bit more realistic, for example, or also give it a little bit more sense of scale. Yeah. Of course, then if you want, you can also kind of work with the background a little bit, looking at the environment. The environment can also help with the sense of scale. For example, if you add some more of these trees here, maybe even, you know, the trees can also be something that can very easily sort of suggest the scale, which they do, you know. So if you add some more trees, maybe even some rocks, maybe, or some like a rock wall, and then maybe even some animals on the sides, I think that can all help with the grounding it in reality, or grounding it in an environment, and also giving it more of a sense of scale, basically. I think that's sort of the two things that you can do to really, I guess, boost the image's, I guess, feeling of realism. Yeah. Welcome back, Zachary. Hope you enjoyed your day. Hope you enjoyed your Thursday. Maybe you're excited for more tomorrow, Friday. You can finally decide, or you have more time, I guess, in the evening than usual. Maybe you're a early bird and you go to bed early. I guess then you don't have more time. But yeah, those are a few things that I think can help you with your image. That could, you know, of course, it could also be that it's supposed to look like this, but just a few, you know, just input from me that could maybe improve the image, you know. Okay. Let's go to the next one. The next one is made by Crow ST. So he submitted 2 pieces. The first one is a video. I think it's I watched it partially. It's a, I guess, compilation of his progression, 6-month progression, going from, I guess, a complete beginner to a more, I guess, to what he did recently with the Batmobile, for example. It's a 6-minute video, so I don't want to watch it fully, but we can kind of skip through it or play it in 2 times speed. I think that would be good too. There you go. I don't know what that says because it's not English or German, so I guess yeah, we'll just have to guess. Let's maybe. Okay, let's play it in 2 times speed, and then we're good. There you go. So let's see what he made. I've watched some of it, but not everything. Okay. So there he is, his helmet. I think it looks really cool. Oh, you can see here even some animations where he kind of turns around, even adding the color here too. Really cool. I don't know if it's a compilation going from the beginning to the end. It seems like it. This was probably just like a teaser. Here's the first donut. Here's number 2. Here's number 3. You can see the improvement already. Of course, I don't really know when he started using Blender. He said 6 months ago, so you know. Oh, with an animation too. Nice, that's nice. Then he made the owl by the original Blender YouTube channel. Made it like a glass. What is it? Like a bottle ship, but a bottle, I guess, bed. Yeah, I also when I started with, I guess, architecture. After learning the basics, he did like the sofa that you've seen before. He worked a little bit more with maybe particles too, to add these trees here, for example. You can see it gets more and more elaborate, kind of going through the stages. You know, you begin with individual pieces first, and then you kind of add everything together into full scenes, for example, like this one here, for example, with the alien and the snow and all the textures and all that. You know, exactly, I agree. And then he went into hard surface modeling. This is his one, I would guess, you know, with some nice textures here. You can see the damage. It looks procedural. It could also be, I guess, textures, but it looks very procedural. The way it's sort of structured looks like a noise texture, for example. The modeling looks pretty cool. Seems like he followed a tutorial for this with even a sticker. Nice, that's nice. Oh, with an animation too. Nice. With SpongeBob on the side. Oh, a full bedroom. Yeah. I did some art thingies too. So this is basically what he's done in the last 6 months. He also submitted one more piece that is, I guess, the most recent one. Another, what do you call it? Like another archivist video. This one already looks pretty cool. I see he likes to do some animations for his pieces too. You know, as an animator myself, I always appreciate very smooth, I guess you could say, animation or camera movements when it comes to animations. I think that is something oftentimes overlooked when it comes to creating, I guess, animations or any sort of camera movements. Oftentimes what you have is like, you go from here straight upwards, then you stop, and then you go to the other direction, what you oftentimes can do to kind of, I guess, ease it and make it a little bit more pleasing on the eye. So you can add like a small, first of all, a ramp up of speed, and then also smoothing the movement of the camera can really quickly help with the just feeling of smoothness in the overall, I guess, video itself. That was his Batmobile here with an animation too. There you go. And that's, I think, the last project that he finished. Looks pretty cool. There you go. Yeah, I think one more thing, maybe to keep in mind if you want to do another one of these, you know, energy shields, I think, is, I think it's sort of missing, well, it could be a different shield, but the way it's sort of looking right now, it looks like an energy shield. I think what is sort of missing is the glow effect that really sells the energy look. You know, if you have like, if there's something full of energy, it kind of exerts that into the world, for example, by glowing, or by heat, for example. I think right now it looks very, I guess, cold. I think that's one thing you can keep in mind for your, what do you call it? For your next energy shield. And then we have the last piece that he submitted at least, which is this one here. He had a question. Hold on. The question was, my work has been done recently. I need advice with the light, but I do not have enough. So he said, if I read that correctly, he wants to have more light. So this is a night scene, a a good old living room with a night scene. You can see here the darkness. I guess it's very dark in the back here. I don't know if it's been lit with Eevee or if it's been lit with cycles. It looks more like Eevee. Could be wrong though. I actually think if you sort of look at it, the room looks pretty bright. Maybe a little bit too bright considering the I guess the environment here or the outside. There's not really that much light coming from the, I guess, through the windows. So all that creates this brightness would be the lights here. You have a few lights here, you have some here on the side, and then of course you have the big one here. One thing that I noticed right now is that it seems like that there's like a border up top which sort of holds the light, which means that the light should shine down, but it also seems like that it's shining up. Maybe it's just shining through the object, maybe not. I think it would look more realistic or even cooler if it would have darker areas. Right now it's very you could say very, I guess, even with the values. Let me show you what I mean. If we now grab this image and we do this, we can go to my lovely camera raw filter, and this one also tells us the distribution of colors. There you go. And what you can see here is, I mean, the distribution is quite good. You can see there's a lot of shadows and blacks here. And then we go to the lighter areas here. There aren't really that many highlights. The distribution is okay, I think. But I think working with a little bit more, with a few more dark areas can sort of give the image more contrast, highlight certain areas of the image, like for example the screen, for example, which can, I think, sort of lift the overall look of the image, because you have sort of a point of interest or a focus point in the image. I think that is sort of missing right now. It's so bright right now that you don't really know where you want to look or where you should look, for example. I think if you look at some ArcViz here, let's look at this one, for example. What you see here is, of course, this is a daytime scene, but still, like we have these nice lights here that sort of highlight the wall here. We have some darker areas here. Up here, for example, it's not too dark, of course, because it's daytime. Let's see if we can see a night scene. ArcViz night. Let's see, do we have an interior? This one looks pretty similar. What you can see here is, because there's no light coming from the outside, the cameras have to light everything up. I mean, the lights have to light everything up, and lights usually don't really illuminate the entire room. Of course, if you, I guess some lights do. Well, not the entire room, but I think what can sort of help here is the play with dark and bright. So what I would say is maybe, add some contrast when it comes to the dark and bright areas. We can maybe add a few here too, ourselves. Maybe we can even use the camera raw filter here. Camera raw filter. And then if we go to the settings here, maybe we can add some. The highlights are pretty bright already. Maybe we can tune them down. Actually, we can keep them that bright, but the shadows can be stronger. Maybe even I don't know if we can do much more here. That's pretty good. This is before and this is after. Okay, there you go. We can then also maybe play around with the brightness a little bit, or the exposure. We turn this down a little bit. We can then invert this, and then we can use a brush. There you go. We can maybe, you can kind of divert, or we can move the focus of the image more to this area. Let's say we want to do that. What we could do here is we can maybe darken the left side, because there isn't really that much, I guess, interesting on the left side. We have these row of books. They don't really, don't really catch your eye. So why don't we just darken this area a little bit to sort of move the eye away from this area here, for example, and more to this part here. There you go. And then on this side we have these two, this sofa and this chair, I guess you could say. I don't know if they're like super interesting. If you want to move everything over here, for example, what we could do is we could darken, especially here, the chair a little bit, because there's no light coming from the camera. Well, there could be, but let's say there isn't any. We can darken this spot here, and then we can maybe darken this part. And then we could maybe even, we don't necessarily need to turn down the lights here, but what we could also do is, because the lights shine down, there shouldn't be that much light maybe up here, so we could darken this area here. Up here, all the lights shine down, so maybe we could darken this spot here a little bit too. There you go. And this way we can very simply sort of, you know, move the eye, the focus of the viewer. We can move it closer to this area. See, this is of course too strong, but just by changing the, I guess, the lighting, we can very quickly bring the viewer's attention to certain areas. That's why vignettes are so, you know, why vignettes exist, to kind of focus on the most important part, which is in the middle. Mini gray maybe came out. Yeah, I think, you know, a little bit more contrast in some areas can help. What do I need to do for permissions to use for feedback channel? If you want to get feedback, then you can join the, oh, you mean, do you already join the Discord? Then you need to accept the rules post. Of course, you need to read the rule post, and then there's a little thumbs up at the bottom, and then you get permissions. Yeah. So just kind of, you know, kind of maybe playing with the lighting, not making, it seems like very, everything seems very bright right now, which kind of dilutes the, or which kind of makes it harder to focus on something. Just by adding a little bit more dark into the scene, you can very quickly create this this focus. There you go. Yeah, that's one thing you can try here. I don't think it necessarily is too dark. I think that's not really the case, especially because the I guess the outside world is dark too. There's no light coming through, so you know. Yeah. Okay. Let's go to the next one. The next one is by James, and he made the good old meme of an elf on the shelf. There you go. Little fella sitting there on a shelf with two books. I guess, you know, looks more like a sketch, comparing that to other pieces he's made. But we can still, you know, give feedback on it. I think for this one, so here are a few tips if you want to make textures look realistic. I think the one thing that is kind of holding the wall back right now is, first of all, repetition. So you can see here we have the same tile here as we see here, as we see here, as we see here, as we see here. So this is a tiled tile texture, you know, but you don't really have perfect repetition in real life. You always have variations. That doesn't mean that this doesn't work, but that means that you need to add more on top of it to make it look real. Humans are very, very good at seeing patterns. So what you need to do is you need to, I guess, you need to add so much variation that you can't see the patterns anymore. But what really helps with that are procedural textures. So what you could try is you could add maybe some cracks, maybe some I guess some rougher or some smoother patches to these tiles to give it some more variation. Of course, it looks sort of I guess not necessarily lonely, but more, it's sort of just hanging there. There's nothing sort of around it. You could maybe add like a small shelf here at the bottom maybe, you know, just to kind of populate it a little bit more, to sort of ground it more in an environment rather than in this ether. I think also one thing is the lighting looks very harsh. It seems like maybe it's an HDRI with a you know, sunny day HDRI, which is why we have these very sharp shadows. If this would be an elf on a shelf, you know, that would probably be inside of the house, which means that we have like maybe a window shining through, or we would have a another light that is shining on, you know, the objects. So you would have a more diffused light, or you would have maybe like a light of through the window, coming through the windows, shining on them, which means you have like two ways you can sort of bring light into the scene that would probably look a little bit more realistic. I want a shelf elf. Yeah. Overall, of course, the elf itself, I think it looks pretty cool. I think it can work. What you can do, you know, like I think what the big contrast is right now between the background and the foreground is the sort of simplicity of one and then the complexity of the other. So what sort of really disconnects two objects from another is the level of complexity when it comes to, for example, the textures or the fidelity of the model. I think the fidelity of the model can work if it's more like a toy, for example. And then you can see if you want to keep the background very complex or very realistic, what can help here is maybe adding a fabric to the shirt or whatever he's wearing, maybe even like a texture to his face, to his hat especially, just to kind of give everything a coherent language. Let's say the books could have like a cover, or maybe, you know, at least a texture to make it look like it's like a, you know, book cover. There's actually like a bumpiness and maybe some scratches or whatever, to kind of give it I guess coherent visual language, let's say. It's sort of, you know, it's sort of, there's simplified pieces, and then there's like a very complex piece which sort of can work in instances, but I think it needs to be more deliberate to really work. You need to see that it's supposed to have this contrast, and I think right now it's not that clear. So yeah, you could try, you know, some like a fabric shader on his shirt, maybe a fabric shader on his hat. I don't know, skin shader would probably not work. Maybe you could make a doll out of it, so you could add like maybe some subsurface scattering to make it look a little bit more like not wax but plastic. And then the books, of course, you can play around with those too. Yeah, it's hard to really sort of change the images in Photoshop to make them look like that, because like it's I can't change the lighting, or I can't really easily add some textures, so I can really only like give some tips what you could try. But yeah, I think the sort of disconnect between the two, the wall and the shelf, is sort of the biggest thing. But it's a cool image. I like the image. Maybe what you could try is what you can maybe see sometimes in my quick sketches. Sometimes I make a more broad, you could say, camera angle where you can see everything that you added to the scene. And sometimes I go closer to a certain object, or make a close-up shot of something that can really easily add more dynamic into the scene, which means that it you know, looks more interesting. You have a certain focus point. Right now it looks very, I guess, broad, that you don't really exactly know what you want to focus on. Of course, you have this is supposed to be the focus, but what you could try then is you could maybe add like a camera that looks maybe, you know, down on him. So if this is the elf, you know, you could maybe bring it closer like this, so to kind of add a little bit more depth to the image too, and maybe, you know, give it a more dynamic camera angle. It's kind of hard to explain. But right now it's very distant from the image, which kind of, you know, which looks very static, let's say. It works very well if you just want to, I guess, sell the look, I guess. or if you want to show the model. But I think if you want to make like a moving image, let's say, it'll probably work a little bit better if you kind of move the camera closer to the subject, for example, and then yeah, you know, make the visual language maybe a little bit more not coherent, but what is the word? Universal, so that it's like, you know, everything's sort of similar or the same. Yeah. Camera angles can change a lot in an image. It's pretty crazy sometimes. Let's see if we can camera angles can change. Let's see if we can find anything. I don't know if we can. A lot. What is this? What was this? 12 camera angles to enhance your films. Let's see what this is. Maybe we can find some inspiration here. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, see, like, you can either just film someone just, you know, standing there in front of the camera and just kind of showing the person, but what you can also do is kind of add some detail shots, of course, within just a standard image. That might be a little bit harder, but you could maybe also just choose from one of these. What you can see here is you add a sense of depth because of the focus, because of the depth of field, which immediately adds, you know, a sense of depth, makes it more dynamic because you have a more, you can focus on a certain part more because it's in focus, of course. Then, of course, this one, you know, you kind of get a certain feeling of the subject. This one looks like it's, you know, kind of towering above you, looking, I guess, maybe not better than you, but sort of mighty, and sells a different look. Then that's the opposite. You look bigger, I guess. We have some, I guess, asymmetry maybe even also, and, you know, stuff like that you can do to sort of give your renders a more dynamic look, basically. Okay, see, like this one, for example, you could also just kind of move the camera above or high up so that you see the whole house, but by placing the camera in the scene, also, you can kind of use these lines here, for example, that you can see there to sort of move the eye, to lead the eye to the house right here, for example. See how all these lines kind of lead to the entrance, and then you see, oh, these lines, you know, if I follow this track, where do I go? Oh, there's the house, and oh, I can see there's some light up there. And that's sort of how you can lead the eye, for example, or how you can use the camera position to your advantage. Okay, next one. The next one is by Dark Touch. He had a very specific question, which we answered in the Discord while well, we talked about it in the personal feedback channel. He asked the question, I want to use this one probably. He asked the question, how can I make, hold on, how can I make my character, let's just actually read it so I don't misquote him. There it is. How to make him handsome. How can we make him more handsome? So there's a very, very good or a very interesting video series on YouTube. I don't exactly know what it's called, but I think how you can find it is what is an attractive nose, maybe? There it is, this one by Qoves Studio. How the nose influences face shape, what makes a face attractive. I think they make that, they talk about, you know, like here, for example, what makes a masculine face, or the factors influencing nose shape, what the nose shape changes in a face, how you can make a character look more attractive. Of course, we're not going to watch this 12-minute video, but I think in general, I mean, we can look through it a little bit. We can skip through it a little bit. For example, if we compare this one, I think what you can do to make someone look more manly, for example, and thus, I guess, more attractive, depending on how you see attractiveness. Attractiveness is somewhat subjective, but let's talk about, I guess, manliness. If you want to make him more manly, let's say, we would probably sort of, if you compare the two, you can see here he has more I guess, angular features. Her face is rounded. You can see especially the hairstyle sort of makes it look very quadratic. His chin, his jaw is a little bit sharper, if I see that correctly. Here's a little bit rounder. The cheekbones aren't as, I guess, wide, which makes the face a little bit more, I guess, blocky, you know? You can see here it's basically a straight line upwards. For her, it's more roundish because of the hairline and also the cheekbones. Okay. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. Here you can see the difference, of course, between male and female. And I think, yeah, the biggest thing sort of to make something more, I guess, you know, I would say to make a character like this, for example, more masculine, or, well, to make it more attractive, I guess would be to kind of play with the masculine side. As I said before, like, attractiveness is pretty subjective. But let's work with, I guess, make him look more masculine. So one thing actually for the nose that makes characters more masculine, which I learned through these videos, is the profile of the nose. If you look at the profile, you can see it's pretty round right now, and then we go to the forehead like this. If we kind of follow the structure rule that we've laid out before, where if it's very angular, it looks more manly, I guess you could say. There's another rule that we can add to that, which is if the nose is, hold on, oh, that's lens correction. If the nose has the same slope or angle as the, dude, as the forehead, it looks a little bit more attractive, you could say. What that means is, of course, we can't see the forehead that well, but if we kind of think about, well, female heads are sort of considered, or sort of, if you think about them, they're a little bit rounder, they have a little bit more fat, they are smoother. What would be the opposite? So to make it look more manly, make it a little bit, I guess, more angular, make it, I guess, straighter, blocky, you could say too. So what we could do here is we could kind of we can make the nose a little bit more pointier here. Nice and straight like this. There you go. It doesn't even have to be like perfectly straight like this. We can even keep some of the structure here. Maybe make this one. That's maybe too much. We can maybe even move the nose a little bit down. There you go. And then if we can see we have a quite smooth, a transition that is quite smooth going to the forehead. What we could do here is we could move it down a little bit more, so we can make a more angular transition, and then it looks more like this. There you go. Before, just a slight change here. Of course, we can also talk about the chin, how the chin can be. The chin is very important. Same with the jaw, right here. What you could say is like the jawline is very important. Like a lean character with a very defined jawline is kind of considered like I guess, attractive, or whatever you want to call it, handsome. You know, maybe you've heard some people say like, oh, you know, what a great jawline, or I don't know, like my jawline is, I don't know, you know, non-existent or whatever. So making the jawline, kind of highlighting the jawline, giving it a nice contrast here and giving it a nice strong contour can help too. Maybe I'm over-exaggerating it a little bit, but there you go. Doing something more like this can help too. So this is quite round right now, and then we by correcting it, we can make it a little bit more angular to make it look a little bit more masculine, basically. One thing you can also adjust real quick that isn't necessarily about attractiveness would be this part here. I think this can be a little bit lower, so we can house the the tongue a little bit better. There you go. Of course, another big thing I think you would say would be part of the manly the male attractiveness would be muscles. You wouldn't necessarily have a lot of muscles in the face. Well, you have them. You could maybe highlight them a little bit more too to make it look more manly. But especially like the neck. If you only talk about the head, for example, and the neck, The trap muscles are very important here. The shoulders too. You know, wide shoulders can also help with a very, I guess, manly character. I think what is also very important is a good hairstyle, you know? If you want to make someone look very, I guess, attractive, I think one thing that a lot of people value is someone that can sort of take care of themselves, have a very clean look, maybe a shaven beard that is very clean, has very clear lines, maybe even no beard, or very clear cut eyebrows, maybe even. You can say the hair right now looks quite wild, you know, going all directions. It doesn't mean that it's not, you know, couldn't be a cool style, but I think in general, if you kind of look at, I don't know, and oh, some man, there you go. What you can see here with most of them, how they have very styled hair, they have a very clean look. The beard is trimmed or cut into shape, you could say. Here you can see the hair is maybe short. It is very kept, let's say. I think kept is a good way to say it. You can see here muscles also very important. Stuff like that, like you know, kind of taking care of yourself is also something that I think a lot of people value. And then of course we have something like the jaw being very, very angular. What you can see here is his face is quite round, as we said before, looking at the video. So one thing you could try here would be making either his, you know, his jaw a little bit wider, like this. Or what you can also try is you can just move the cheekbone a little bit more into the middle. So it looks more like this. This way you can very quickly make his face more angular and thus, I guess, more male? Feminine? Not feminine, but the opposite. Male, I guess. No. Masculine. There you go. So this might just be the shading, but I think another good thing to, I guess, to make someone look very attractive is a good smile. What oftentimes sort of makes smiles look weird is the distance between the teeth. Oftentimes you run into that problem when you want to draw teeth, when you want to draw someone's smile, for example. Because when you draw out every single teeth, the drawn line is so thick that it looks like the teeth have a very big distance between each other, which is why the teeth look so weird when you draw them out fully. So what you can oftentimes do is you can kind of begin adding the gap between the teeth, but you don't fill it out fully, which kind of makes it look like they're closer together, which makes it look like it's a cleaner, I guess, smile. What you can see here is maybe that the teeth have quite a big gap. That could just be because the teeth corners here at the bottom are quite, you could say, quite round, which kind of distances them a little bit more. So what you could try too is just kind of make them a little bit sharper and bring them closer together. Maybe we can, is there a pinch brush? No, well there's one, but I don't know if that one works that well. Oh yeah, it works quite well. Okay. Maybe it doesn't really make a huge difference, but it's just a small thing that can also add to the overall look. I think the hair is a big one because it's such a big part of your head. Then of course the proportions, making them more angular. Maybe even here the nose bridge we can adjust it a little bit too. Making the nose a little bit more angular from this direction too, making it maybe a little bit straighter here. There you go, nice and, you know, angular, more like this. He's not supposed to look angry, but, you know, more like this. Cheekbones can be highlighted in males too. It's not necessarily need to be a female trait. There you go. Then the nose can be a little bit Not a router, but of course the opposite. There you go. You could also base it on an actor. Yeah, that's also a good one. Yeah, I mean, likenesses, I think if you only want to go for like an attractive character, likeness isn't necessarily too important. I think what is more important is that you kind of capture the essence, whatever you want to get from the reference. Character kind of reminds me of Garen. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, we can also look at Garen. Hold on. I guess Garen splash art should be enough. There you go. Yeah, for him you have the same, you know? What you can see here. Oh, what? That's a nice image. 40. Oh, there he goes. Dude, let me just... Can I look at this one? Yeah, there you go. So what you can see here is the same. You can see the bridge is very defined, very angular too, very clear edges here, very straight line. We have the pointy nose. We have the very, very clearly defined jaw line here. Look at this. we have the cheekbone even highlighted a little bit, make it even angular here at the top for the cheekbone. Same for the sides of the head here. I always talk about the planes from here and from here, how there's a plane right there for the forehead and then one on the side here. And the angle or the edge that goes from here to here between these two planes can also be very highlighted too, or very, very, I guess, pointy or edgy. Yeah, so this one's also a good character. I think for him also his hairstyle kind of, you know, steals from his masculinity, but still, it's still sort of, yeah, it's still, you know, looks very masculine. This one is another skin. Well, that's a bad look at it. What about not Garen, but Darius? So for him, you can see, looking at another masculine character, he also has a very wide jaw. The nose is also quite angular. The tip is very pointy, for example. The eyebrows are very defined too, very bulky. You have the angular sort of transition from the nose to the forehead. The chin also can be very, I guess, very, I guess, bigger, you could say, or angular, whatever you want to call it. You have the cheekbone here too. So yeah, you know, we could maybe move the cheekbones out a little bit more here. There you go. Yeah, just a few things. I think faces have very, very slight or very, very small variations that can really, really change, very quickly change a character's face. So, yeah, you don't really need to change too much to make him look more masculine, but, you know, the changes need to be deliberate. Otherwise, they can lead to chaos. So you can see here, just even changing the nose can change a lot. And then, of course, the jawline here too, or the jaw itself. You could even look at the lips too, but I think those are some pretty good points. Okay, let's go to the next one. Next one is by Quacky Quack. Interesting name. He also made a character. This one is Echo, also from League of Legends. What did he say? Hold on. There it is. Can somebody give me a critique? Is that Hood Boy from Arcane? It is our Hood Boy from Arcane. Echo from Arcane, basically. Okay. let's give some feedback. I think this one falls into the category of planes of the face, okay? What I mean by that is, I think the thing that'll help you the most when it comes to improving the face is looking at the planes of the face. What do I mean by that is, by learning the planes of the face, you can very quickly improve the character, because you learn how the face is constructed and where the depth comes from, where the protrusions are, where the, I guess, deeper parts of the face is, and this way you add more contrast to your face, which means you improve the character. If we talk about the planes of the face, let me show you what I mean. We actually have the image right here. These are the planes of the face, and these ones are probably this is basically the foundation of any character, or when you want to learn how to create characters. I think this is the important part. This is the most important thing that you should look at in the beginning when you want to learn characters. This is basically the foundation on which you want to build your character creation skill house on, okay? Why is this one so important? Because you can see basically all the levels of the face, the planes basically. You have the forehead here. You can see how deep the eyes actually are. You can see the eyebrows are quite far forward, protruding from the eyes. Comparing that to yours, for example, you can see the eyebrows currently are quite flat, and there isn't really like a big contrast here between the there you go. Between the I guess eyebrow here and the eye, it looks quite shallow because there isn't really like a big shadow underneath here. Can we see shadows here? You can see there's a big shadow underneath the eyebrow here. That's one thing that you can look at. I think what you can also look at next to the planes is the different levels of the face. I think these are the two most important things that you should look at to improve your characters. The planes of the face, and then also to kind of get a deeper understanding of, I guess, the planes and why they exist in the way they do, is to look at the three layers of the face. The first layer is the bone, the next layer is the muscle, and the layer afterwards would be the fat. I think what is missing for the eyes, for example, why they sort of look a little bit empty or a little bit out of place, is that there is no fat sort of above the eyelid. Oftentimes when you look at, if you look at young people, like Echo, for example, he's quite young, you have like fat above your eyelid, which creates this fold that you can see right here, for example, that gets created when you open your eye. You can see the same here, this clear line right there. That's being created because there's an eyelid and also a fat pad right here that's sort of sitting on top of it. And because they sort of, I guess, the eyelid needs to kind of pull back into or above the eye to open up, it creates like a fold that is being partially created by this fat pad right here. And this fat pad sort of fills the space from the eyebrow to the eyelid. And I think that's sort of slightly missing right now. So one thing you could try, if you just want to improve this, you could pull out the forehead here a little bit, the outer part of the forehead basically. Just kind of move it forward a little bit so that there's more of a clear protrusion here. And then you could add a little more volume right here underneath the eyebrow that can fill up this part of the eye, above the eye basically. Another big thing that I see quite commonly are the lips. The lips look quite flat. It looks kind of like if I would draw them right now and we would have the nose right here, this is the nose. And we get rid of the nose. Wait. I don't want to get rid of this. There you go. So if you would kind of look past the nose, if you look at the lips, I think the lips right now look very, very flat. Maybe like this. So those are the lips. This is the top lip, of course. And then we have the lower lip maybe here. It's very, very weird to see, of course. The nose would be somewhere up here, of course. I think the lips right now are very, very flat. But if you kind of look at what the lips actually are, I think you can kind of understand a little bit better why or what the shape is. Of course, you can look at the planes too and see that there's more of a rounding going on. The corners of the mouth are very further back than the middle of the lips, for example. And why is that? Because the lips sort of cover the teeth. And if you look at the teeth in a skull, you can see that the teeth are lined up in a round, in a U shape, basically. Well, this is this one here. See how the teeth are being covered by the lips. And if the lips cover a U shape or a cylinder, basically, they wouldn't be flat, they would be more like a cylinder shape. Of course, at some point there are more muscles that sort of take over, but you can probably move the lips from where they are right now a little bit further back so that you have more, so that they more realistically cover the teeth. Yeah, it's a little bit hard to explain. I think it comes with experience, but I think if I'm saying it more practically, I guess you can try. I think what you can try is just to kind of select the corner of the mouth and just pull it further back into the face. I think they can immediately make them look a little bit better. Maybe you can even move the middle a little bit further forward. I think that can really help with the lip corners. Yeah, the corners here, I think they can really. I think, yeah, what I mean with the mistake that I see often is that, yeah, I mean, it's a very, very common mistake in the beginning to push or to make the mouth very flat, but it has a lot of depth. So adding that depth and keeping that in mind and adding that depth, you know, in the future, I think can really, really quickly improve your character's look. It seems like you've added a subsurface scattering shader here. You can see there's light shining through the ear, if I'm correct. You need to change the subsurface scattering color so that it's more reddish rather than this brownish yellow. You know, no matter what skin color you have, your blood is always red, and that's what you can see through the ear. If there's light shining, you know, through the ear, you would see red. Basically, the subsurface color being created by the blood. So yeah, changing the subsurface color to red can help with that. I think the proportions look pretty good. Maybe it seems like the jaw right now is very, very smooth. It also seems like the jaw goes past the ear. I think what you can look at here would be just like if you Google écorché, or you just Google, I guess, a normal. You can even just Google head. One thing you'll notice is that hold on. There you go. You'll notice that the jaw ends right before the ear, and then the ear is right behind it. And also the jaw is quite straight, and then it goes up. It can be diagonal, so that the jaw sort of goes diagonally to the ear and then goes up straight. But it is always straight and then has a certain, I guess, corner where it then switches to straight up. I feel like I could explain that better, but to kind of put it into, make it visual what I mean, visible what I mean, we can probably go to the liquify tool, and then I can show you what I mean. So right now the jaw is very, very round, and what you can do to kind of fix that is you can just kind of make it straighter here, so that you have the transition being a little bit, you know, a little bit more like this. And you can see how much that actually changes the face. So this is after, this is before. See how much that changes the face. And if you don't want to have him with such a Chad jaw, I guess, you can also just move it a little bit higher, like this. As long as the line here, I guess the jawline is quite straight, that's all that matters. There you go. Yeah, the jawline should be quite straight, basically. The ear position is pretty good, actually. Oftentimes I mess up ears quite a lot. Well, it might be a little bit too high. Generally speaking, the ears start, or they end at the eyelid, at the upper eyelid, and they begin at the bottom of the nose. So if you kind of draw that back, we can maybe move it down just very, very slightly. Maybe like right there. I think that's pretty good. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good position. Yeah, and then if you want to pull out the eyebrow too, what we mentioned before, I think that can help too. Make the planes more visible. There you go. And even if you want to make your next character and you really want to focus on improving the planes of the face, try to really you could either, what you could try is you could just fully copy what you see here, or try to copy what you see here, or you just try to still copy it. You can still create new characters like Echo, for example, but in those characters you can try and really try to accentuate or highlight the different planes of the face to kind of get a feeling of, first of all, how sort of deep you can actually go in a face, and also how well, how much you can shape a face and it still looks good, basically. Yeah. And then maybe, yeah, another comment that hold on. That, who was it? Owa said is that the eyelids can be a little bit thicker, but that's more detailed work, I would say. I think looking at the planes of the face first is more important, or more helpful, let's say. Okay, let's go to the next one. Which is made by Habag11. He already asked, you know, when his will come up. Now's the time. He made a little dog sculpt. Look at that. He recreated his dog, I would say. You know, it looks like his photos. Looks pretty good. I have the video downloaded, so let's look at it in Photoshop. Received is the name for some reason. There it is. Okay. We can maybe even pull up the references. There you go. Hello? Oh. Wait, hold on. Give me a sec. There it is. Why can I move it above? Well, there you go. Okay. I guess we'll place it here. There you go. Okay. So this is more about recreating rather than, I guess, or sort of looking at reference and trying to recreate it in the sculpt, rather than, I guess, let's use this frame. I think this frame is pretty good. There you go. Rather than, I guess, coming up with your own character. As a beginner, I always started with reference. I always began by recreating an image, like a fan art, for example, or whatever, in 3D, rather than coming up with my own characters. I think it's just easier, and you can kind of train not only your eye when you want to interpret references, but it's also just a little bit simpler, and you can kind of take the creative part out of your brain, I guess, and just focus on the technical part and the I guess the execution. You can focus on that more. So let's look at the recreation. If we compare this one to this one, what are the differences? What you can improve? The first one that came to mind when I looked at it is the nose. Right on the nose, you know, it's right on the nose. The nose is, I think, looking at the proportions here, the nose is a little bit smaller. I think you can see here is, I think what's kind of deceiving is the lighting. It's very, very hard, especially in the beginning. I don't, you know, for me at least it was, to kind of work with the lighting. The lighting always sort of made it hard for me to sort of interpret some stuff. So I think what kind of looks a little bit deceiving is that this light here looks like this is all part of the nose. But if you really look a little bit closer or look at the other images, you can see that the nose is actually quite small. So what we can probably do here first is we can make the nose tip or the nose itself a little bit slimmer and also a little bit shorter, you could say. Let's go to the liquify. Send it to someone on Facebook Messenger, then re-download it. Okay. So yeah, let's make the nose a little bit thinner or smaller. So we're just gonna do this. There you go. Oh. Okay. Of course, it's a little bit scuffed because I tried to reshape it in 3D, thinking in 3D, but I think that's okay. Another thing that sort of came to mind is, of course, the shader might make it a little bit harder. But looking at the eye, for example, you can always, if you look at references, I think the most important thing that you should focus on when you want to improve your reference interpretation skills is try to use the contrast between light and dark to your advantage as much as possible, because it can teach you a lot about the structure of the face. When we look at this good boy right now, okay, we can see here how we have a very clear light right here. Or let's draw some contrast lines, okay? We have a very clear contrast here. We can maybe even argue that it continues. There's a tone shift here, or maybe the hairs sort of go in a different direction. So we can even look at a different reference. You can see here there's a clear line here, which we can then transfer over to this one. There would be a clear line here. We have a very clear line here, and this way we can very quickly, including the silhouette of course as well, here too, we can very quickly kind of draw out the shapes in our head. There you go, going to through the entire silhouette like this. Same on the side here, we can see there's well, first of all, there's a line right here, of course, for the silhouette. Another thing is that we have a distinction between the top part of the mouth and the lower part, the chin, you could say, if you want. There you go, the jaw maybe. Another thing we can see if we look at the other references is that there's more light here right there. You can see this part is brighter than this part, for example, which means that this part probably looks more in this direction, while this part here looks more in this direction, because there's light coming from the top, and because this part is lighter, it receives more light, so it needs more space that where it can catch the light. Which means if we kind of keep that in mind and move that over here too, we can kind of draw it in here too, which would look something like this probably. And then we have this line here too, or this plane, which would be, I guess, somewhere over here. There you go. You could still break it up into more pieces, but I want it to be very broad right now. We can see a very clear distinction between bright and dark right here, so we can draw it out here too. You can see a great distinction here too. And if you continue that through all the rest, we can draw out the general shapes. Maybe even here, it's a little bit harder to see here, but still. And then of course we have the nose hole, so we can draw that in too. Silhouette, let's finish the silhouette. And then of course we have the very dark areas around the eyes, which can very clearly show you the eyes right here, and then even the small fold right there, and then one more, which is also very important right here. There you go. And now if we remove, I don't want to write. If I remove all the rest, you can see we already sort of, sketched out the dog. So now the challenge is, now we've identified all the structural I guess, indicators. Now we have to transfer them over to the sculpt. So let's see if we can kind of I guess, or if we can kind of see if you've added them. Of course, because it's not a, I guess, physically rendered image, it's not it doesn't have physically rendered light, which means that the lighting, or the lighting that we have right now doesn't really change the, what do you call it, the it doesn't really change the, it doesn't really show the volume or the structure too much, but I think we can still work with this. Nut rate. Somebody's rating with a lot of nuts, I see. Hello, 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 welcome. Hope you've been doing well so far. Welcome. As you can see, we're talking about dogs. Maybe, you know, maybe that sounds appealing to you. We're doing a feedback session about 3D art. Do you have any feedback? Maybe, you know, you have some feedback that you can give. You can always chime in. Yep. So what I would say is, one thing you can see is the bridge right here from the nose going to the eyes. It looks very smooth right now. That could just be the I guess you could say the, what do you call it again? The shading. But maybe you could sort of make the bridge a little bit sharper here. There you go. Hold on. Oh. Right here. So that the plane right here is a little bit clearer. Another thing you can see here, which is pretty hard to sort of transfer over to a sculpt, is the eye shape. The eye shape is something more, I guess, hold on, round on the right side and then sharper on the left side. But if you look at the sculpt, you can see it's quite sharp here and also quite sharp here. So what you could maybe do is you could maybe make this side here a little bit rounder, so that it sort of looks, I guess, more like this. You know, it's kind of more according to the reference. It's very hard to sell that look very, very effectively, or to you know, copy something from the reference into the sculpt very effectively. It can be very hard in certain angles, for example. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Hope you have a wonderful day too. Thank you. Hope everybody has a wonderful day. Thank you for all the nuts. I think I have enough nuts for today. So if you would kind of maybe address some things you could maybe adjust to improve the sculpt. Let's go back in here. So we talked about the eyes before. The eyes, especially here, we can probably move this back a little bit to make them more round, like this. Rounder, rather. There you go. Like this more. Maybe even move the forehead over here. I think we have a dip right here between the eyebrows. If you look at the reference right now, the dip isn't really there. There's like a clear bridge in between them. I think you can sort of interpret it as one, but I think it's quite flat, I guess you could say. It's maybe a little bit just too deep, so we can push it up a little bit so that the dip becomes, I guess, straighter. Glad we filled your day with nuts. I mean, you know, didn't expect my mouth to be filled with nuts today, but I guess sometimes that's just you just have to accept it. Yeah, so let's go back in here. There you go. Hello. Oh, there it is. So we can just move it up a little bit like this. I think that looks a little bit better. Yep. Oh. Of course, you know, we have different angles here, but you kind of have to interpret them into this one too. Of course, I just, I guess, rasterize it, so I can't really rotate around it anymore, but that's okay. Let's see. I think one more thing that we can see here that we drew here too is the jawline. I think the jawline here gets kind of lost. You could maybe highlight highlight it a little bit more, I think that can help. You can see it's slightly, I guess, hidden, but I think highlighting it a little bit more can help here with the structure of the face overall. That one is harder to add because it's just like a little bit darker. Yeah. For some reason, if it's been a raid, I didn't get any pop-ups or whatever, any alert. So if it's been an actual raid, thank you for the raid, of course. I appreciate it. Hope you had a great stream. Whoever it was, I can't see the name, of course. But yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you. Hope you had a great stream. Yeah. Let's look at the... Wait, did I deactivate it? No, okay. Yeah, so I think the biggest challenge is really to sort of identify the different shapes of the face and then bringing them over to the sculpt. I think overall it looks pretty good. I think there are some proportions that looked a little bit funky, like the nose, for example. But with a few adjustments, I think you can really quickly, yeah, fix those. Same for the eyes, of course, here. That's the same. You just kind of have to do more and more. You just have to do more and more of these to understand how the perspective in the references work, or how the anatomy of, for example, a dog looks like. And the more, I guess, dogs you, for example, sculpt, the easier you can interpret a reference, because you can kind of take from your imagination, not your imagination, but from your knowledge, and you can kind of insert that in the reference, and you can kind of draw out the landmarks that you know that exist and how they are basically shown in the reference. The more you do it, the more, of course, you get better at that. So one thing that I, for example, know is that the eyes for a dog are facing quite straight forward, which means that the rotation of the eye sockets also need to be facing forward quite a bit, or quite a lot. I think right before this, they faced outwards a little bit more than forward. And by moving this corner here further into the face, or maybe even this corner further forward, you can achieve this forward facing look a little bit better. Yeah. Of course, adding more detail can also help. It looks kind of smooth right now. I like that you've added the cheekbone here. That's also very important. Animals also have cheekbones. In general, the skulls of animals are quite similar to the ones of humans. Just the proportions and the position of some parts is just a little bit different. But in general, they have basically the same, I guess, features that we have too. Like cheekbones, like a chin, I guess, like a nose bridge, forehead too. It's just a little bit different. It has different proportions, basically. Yeah. Okay. Hope that helps. Let's go to the next one. I think we have one more. We have two more. Okay. We have JK with his character. Oh, there you go. We don't need Blender. JK with his character. There you go. Okay. So, another character. Hold on, let me just sit down real quick and then we can begin. Okay. So, another face. Okay. So, what did he say? What did they say? What do you think about my work? I'm pretty new in sculpting, waiting for your feedback. Okay, so looking at the face, what I appreciate or what I like is the depth. I think it has quite a lot of depth already. You can see here there's quite a clear shadow underneath the eyebrow here and here. You can see quite a lot of depth for the nose bridge. The nose bridge has quite a steep fall off here, for example, maybe a little bit too, I guess, too sharp here at the edge. You can maybe smooth that out a little bit. And then maybe here too. Just kind of smoothing that a little bit can probably help. Maybe we can do that here ourselves. Wait. I can't do that here. Well, I can do it here. Kind of smoothing this can help. There you go. Perfect. Like this. So that's basically there are muscles connecting to the nose, which sort of smoothes the transition from the nose bridge to the rest of the face. That's basically why it's a little bit smoother there. One thing I see right now is that the eyelid, talking about the eye, you know, we've been talking a lot about it this week. The eyelid is basically fully wrapping around the eye. Just how the lips wrap around the teeth, the eyelid wraps around the eye. So the eyelids never leave the surface of the eyeball, except for the inner corner of the eye. So what you can see here, you can see the eyelid sort of, I guess, leaving. There's like a gap between the eyeball and the eyelids. These need to be on the eyeball, basically. So what you could do is you could just push them in, I guess. That could probably help. You might have to change the eye a little bit, or the eyelids, to do that. But that's one thing you can keep in mind. I think the structure overall looks pretty good already. You can see here we have some planes here, like this one right there. We have a plane right here. Of course, they can still be improved. But overall, you know, the first step is to get the planes right. And I think the planes look pretty good already. The eyes, I think, have a good width. The nose looks a little bit thin right now. The general rule is the nose is as wide as the corners of the eyes are apart. So if this is the width right here that I'm speaking of, the nose should also be somewhat that wide. Right now it's a little bit thinner. I think the lips are also a little bit similar to they have a similar problem to the other characters. What I mean by that is they look quite flat right now. I think they have a little bit more depth than the other ones, but I think what can help you is maybe not to move the corner of the mouth back. I think they can also help, but they seem to be a little bit further back, or they seem to be in a fairly good position. I think what can help you more is that you move this part of the lip further forward to give it more depth. Of course, I don't have any other angles here to look at, but I think that could be one thing that you can adjust to make it yeah, I guess, you know, give the face more depth and wrap the lips more around the teeth. A lot of people submit their like images or screenshots. If you want to, I guess the best feedback, I can give the best feedback by, you know, going into your blend file. So if you want to, you know, next time if you want to submit pieces, I guess the best way to do that would be to submit your blend file if that's possible. If not, of course, I can always just work with screenshots too. But, you know, to get the best feedback possible, blend files would be the best. Yeah, but close behind that, images, of course, are also great. Especially if you have multiple angles, or, you know, like a 360-degree rotation like this one. Another one. The lips look quite they lack a certain bit of depth. Well, of course, you can solve that once. Well, one of the problems you can solve is by just moving the middle here forward a little bit, which also creates more depth down here. There are two muscles that connect to the lip right here. Right here and right here are the muscles attached, and they go from here to here, and then oh, and then here to here, which means that there's like a small pit right there in between them that gives the lower lip its depth. And also by adding these small bumps right here on the lips, you can also create more depth in the lips. Same for the top lip here. We have one bump here in the middle and then two on the sides. These really quickly change the look of the lips and can make them look way more realistic. I can't even realize that myself. Sometimes I just look at my lips that I've created, and I kind of like think about like, hey, why do they look kind of weird right now? And then I kind of remember, oh, I still need to add the bumps. And then afterwards they look way different. So that's another thing you can do. Okay. Another thing, looking at the hair, because it's, you know, part of the image or the character. Sorry. Looking at the hair right now, it looks very voluminous or voluptuous, whatever. What I mean by that is it has a lot of volume. If you would take all your hair and pull it back, the front of your hair or the hairline would be quite flat, and the further you go back to the back of your head, the thicker it would get, because the hair stacks on top of each other, and the more you pull back, the more it stacks and the more volume it gets. Which means that in the beginning, if we draw a face from the side here, there you go. Okay, that's the face. The hair. The hair would begin quite flat because there's just like one layer of hair. And then the further you go back, the more it becomes. So it gradually becomes more and more because there are more and more layers stacking on top of each other. If this is the side view, you know, side view, I guess slice. There you go. So it would begin quite flat, and then it would become wider and thicker as you go. Right now it kind of looks like this more. Like this. I think if you lower or if you flatten the front a little bit more, I think it can look a little bit better, you know? Another thing, is the top lip. Right now, what it looks like is that the volume above the lip is further forward than the lip itself. It's kind of hard to explain, but the edge that is usually being created right here by the lip, the edge right here, gets kind of overplayed, I guess, or gets kind of it looks smooth instead of like smooth instead of like an edge. Do you see this small shadow right there? So it rather looks like if this would be the lip right here. Wait, there you go. If this is the lip, okay, it doesn't look like this. Well, that's weird. I don't know. There you go. Okay, it doesn't look like this. This is the top lip. Okay. It looks more like this right now. If you look at some profile views of faces, face profile view, generally you either have a straight line going from the lip to the nose, or you have something like a C curve. So for him, for example, you can see you have more of a straight line, it still goes forward, but it goes forward at the top and not at the bottom. You can still see a clear line where it transitions to the lip. If we go to her, for example, we can see the opposite. We can see the C curve right there. And then if we look at the lips, there's a clear transition to the lips. You can see the silhouette is smooth, but still there's a small edge that is hard to see. But it's still there. Let's see if we can find another one where it's clearer. Him, for example. If we look at his lips, oh, you can see his lips also. Well, the space above is quite straight, but then you can see there's a small bump where it transitions to the lips. A small bump right there. This bump is actually quite important for the lips. That gives them sort of the structure that is missing right here. There you go. You kind of, right now, you know what this reminds me of? I was kind of thinking about it the whole time, but what this kind of reminds me is when you do this. When you kind of tuck your lips in, you know what it looks like? That's basically what it looks like. You do this, and where you have like this rounded part here, right there, that's kind of what it looks like. So if you kind of maybe highlight the edge right here a little bit more, I think that can help with the top part of the lip, and then maybe adding a little dip right here, moving this part of the lips forward a little bit, and then I think the lips will look pretty cool, pretty good. Yeah. Yeah. And then of course, as always, the best way, I guess, to go forward would be to look at the planes of the head, and then also the different layers: the bone structure, the muscle structure, and then the fat pads above that. Okay. Then we have one more, which is by... Wait, what's the name? Hold on. Oh, another new one made by Just a Mouse. Wait, where is it? There it is. Scarm Olive Vase, let's say. Let's put it in. There you go. Let me just quickly do a quick censorship here, just to be sure, okay? Just to make sure that everything's good. There you go, okay. Okay. So I think here we can see a also a common, I guess, okay, I'll see you, Hustler. Hope you enjoy your night. I think what we can see here is the one of the common things that can happen when you start sculpting. I don't remember if it happened to me or not. Probably, most likely. And that is basically to what beginners often do is they treat their sculpt with a lot of care. you can really beat your sculpt into submission, okay? And what I mean by that is you can really dig deep into your sculpt. You can really push out a lot. You can really work with the sculpt. It's supposed to be, I guess, formed very, very strongly, I guess. You know, what you can see here with the chest, for example, it kind of lacks definition because all the shapes are very, very, very lightly just protruded from the original surface, I guess you could say. Yeah. You know, I guess the best way to improve this, for example, the chest, for example, would be to just add more volume. Add more volume to really, really bring out the contrast and the different shapes of the body. Bring out the muscles that, of course, have a certain volume. So adding that volume here can really, really help. Same for the abs. You can not only just pull out more, I guess, volume. You can also just use the crease brush, for example, to define the different shapes. Same for the abs too. Maybe even same for the jacket. Kind of detailing the jacket a little bit more. It looks very smooth right now. The face, you can maybe give it some more structure too. Of course, it could just be the style, very, very smooth too. But I would rather say that you handled the head also with care. And I think you can be a little bit rougher with it. You can, yeah, just kind of play around with it more and really dig deep and pull out a lot when you're sculpting to really bring out the definition, really add some contrast to your sculpt. I think that's one of the biggest things you can focus on when you start sculpting. I think, yeah, it's very common to see sculpts where everything seems very smooth, and by just kind of being conscious of that and really committing to, I guess, shaping the sculpt a lot, you can really quickly improve your sculpts. Of course, stuff like anatomy just comes with practice and kind of observing everything. But yeah, So for example, the hands look quite flat right now. If we look at hands generally, what you could say is that we have this part here is flatter than this one. This one looks more like a pyramid, I guess. It's harder to explain. Hands are very complex, but yeah, like I would describe hands more like hats. So usually your hand is quite, if it's relaxed, it looks like this. What you can often see if your hand looks sort of unrealistic or sort of unnatural is that could be because of the gesture that they do or the pose that they have. Your hands are usually not like this, you don't run around like this or like this, You usually relax your hands quite a lot, just kind of keep them hanging like this so they have this C pose. And that makes hands immediately look a little bit more, I guess, realistic. So maybe, something to try next time when you sculpt hands, make them a little bit, more relaxed like this, for example. Maybe give them, look at the side view of the hand to see the volume and how it changes. And then overall, I think, just kind of, do more. I think it's a good beginning with the full body. I actually wasn't that brave. I started working on the head first, and the head then went to the neck and practiced the head and neck. Then at some point I went to the full body. But I think it looks pretty good already. Just kind of working on it more, kind of practicing and doing more. I think then you can quickly improve all of it. Yeah, but I think the biggest thing here is the softness of the structure. I think that's sort of the biggest thing here. And then, of course, the body also has planes. You could look at those too to sort of see the different structures and how what you can protrude, what you can sort of freeze, and what you can highlight, basically. So yeah, that's another thing you can look at if you want to work on the body too. The clothing, I think, I guess we talked about it before with Zara, but clothing, the two important things to make clothing very realistic or to make clothing more realistic is one is seam lines. So you can look at what are they called? You can either just look at clothing and see where the seam lines are. For example, here you always have one that is going around the shoulder right there, and then you oftentimes also have one that goes from the shoulder here. Hold on, goes from here into the middle to the neck. So you have one piece that is in the front, one in the back, that it gets sewn together, and then you fill out the sleeves with another piece or with two pieces, which of course need to be sewn together, so there are seam lines. And then of course they create folds too, because they're just, I guess, another layer on top of your skin, which means even your skin has folds. So clothing has to have folds too. So looking at how the folds are being created by moving can also very quickly improve the look of clothing, basically. Yeah. Also, another thing you can look at is the type of material that you want to convey in your sculpt, and sort of looking at how the shapes of that material look, or what the folds of that material look like, can also tell a lot about what sort of material you use. So jeans, for example, has different folds than, I don't know, linen, or I don't know, any other, you know, material, or leather even. Leather has is very, I guess, rigid, so it'll have bigger folds than, for example, I don't know, you know, whatever, any other, or jeans, for example. Jeans have smaller folds and more finer folds. And silk is very, very fine, so it'll have even finer folds. Yep. I think that is everything that I can think of right now. Okay. I think that's all for this. So what I want to enforce more in the future, for the next, you know, from now on, we will end the submission phase where you can submit your pieces when I begin the stream, or when I begin the when I begin the stream, or no, when I begin the feedback session. I think that's better. But when I basically, you know, create the time frame for all of them. If somebody submits while I'm doing them, and then, you know, theoretically I could put them at the end, but I kind of want to enforce the rule that if you submit when I'm already doing the feedback session, then it's too late. But I think we can at least quickly go through the one that Just a Mouse submitted. So let's look at that real quick. I think we don't even have to download it necessarily. Seems like you wanted to, you took inspiration from a mouse. I think it looks really cool, like a little what is it, a stylized mouse face with the nose right here, the heart nose. Is it? I guess it's more stylized, I would guess, because of the eyes, for example. The eyes point more forward, rather than for the mouse, for example, they point more to the side. Generally speaking, prey animals, so the ones that fall prey to other predator animals, they have their eyes usually more facing outwards, because they can then see more of the environment to, I guess, see when predators, I guess, try to catch them. Yeah. So it's more of a stylization, I would say. I think this one also falls into the category of blurriness. It's not as blurry as the other one, but I think you can still reinforce or strengthen the features. So what I kind of think about when I talk about that is my quick sketch, especially in the beginning, with 20 resolution. With 20 resolution, you can't really see any. You can sort of build the structure, but then once you add 50 resolution, you can really add a lot of detail. And what do I mean with detail is basically contrast and definition by reinforcing the edges or the volumes, stuff like that. So what you could do here is, for example, you could create a clear crease here for the eye fold above the eyelid, for example. You could create that to make it clearer. That is basically where the eye ends, you could say, or where the eyelid is. If you think about it, you know, right now it couldn't really close its eyes, because if there's no fold, there's no more eyelid that could be pulled down. So it, you know, it couldn't really close its eyes because of the fold. The fold gets created because there's more of the eyelid that is hidden away or in that fold. It's folding on top of each other, because if you open your eyes, you know, there's less room that the eyelid needs to cover. So it kind of needs to go somewhere. So it just kind of goes in your eye socket, I guess. I mean, if you close your eyes, all the room, you can see there's no fold anymore, because all the surface of the eyeball gets covered by the eyelid. So I think adding a crease here would help a lot. Then of course, you just kind of, the nose, for example, reinforcing the structure there. You can see here the nose is a little bit, what do you call it? What do you call it? Stylized too. You know, with the heart shape instead of the standard shape, you could say, or the natural shape. The nose, I mean, the ears are a little bit bigger. You added a, you know, antlers with a funky hairstyle. Let's see. Yeah, see here, the eyebrows, for example, are quite blurry. You can probably reinforce those two a little bit. Then the lips here, the mouth. I think one big thing that you have in your sculpt is the distance from the nose to the lips. What you can often see in mice, or in other similar animals, like what are they called again? I can't remember. My brain is fried. But there's like a certain distance between the nose and the lips, where you don't really have an upper lip. It looks more like this. You know, I can't really do it, but if you look at the Grinch, you can see it. Hold on. Or the kids in the Grinch movie. Kids. Is it them? For him, you can see it. You see not necessarily the distance from the nose to the lips, but more how the lower lip is so pronounced, but the upper lip isn't really there. You see that right there? If you compare that to a mouse mouth, I guess, you can see here it instantly transitions to the teeth, but the lower lip has like this small bump right there. So there's, you know, there's a clear... There you go. The lips up top you can't really see that well, but the lips down there you can see quite well. Which you have in here. Maybe you can, you know, highlight it a little bit more, or kind of refine it a little bit more. Yeah, I think overall it looks pretty good. I think just a little bit more refinement, and then you have yourself a little cute little mouse character. Yep. Yep. Okay. I think that that is all of them. Hope the feedback was helpful. Next week will not be a feedback session, of course. We're gonna do the next one in 2 weeks again. I don't know exactly what we're gonna do next week, but I will figure it out, okay? Probably another follow-along sculpting session. Maybe a full character, we'll see. But yeah, I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. Hope you enjoy the weekend. Hope you enjoy your Friday. And wait, did you have a submission? When? Trying to troll? Let's see. Where is it? Did I completely miss it? Okay. Don't troll me like this, okay? My brain is too fried for this. Okay, yep. Yeah, hope this was helpful, and hope you enjoy the weekend. Thank you for joining. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, chatting, or just being here. Maybe I'll see you next time. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Hope you enjoy the weekend, and take care. Yeah, with the 20-second delay, it's a little bit hard to troll, or you know, it's the troll will be prolonged. So be careful when you do it. Okay.